You can't just give a kid 7 or 8 games and think you know the trajectory of their career.
But I would counter that with
don't.
You're comping him to Hall of Famers.
Well, I'm comping him with guys that were struggled and then they were given an opportunity to bounce back. I could find other guys that were having a shorter leash and we just decided they sucked. That they play, Cade McNown. He didn't have that many starts. They just gave up on him. Maybe he did suck, but there are plenty of guys who just get a few starts and they get. I mean, hell, the kid from we just determined he sucked, and maybe he did, but he wasn't. He wasn't given time to develop. The kid they drafted to Denver, they mowed through several quarterbacks. The big kid, the tall quarterback, Paxton Lynch. Look at how many times he's actually played. I actually feel bad. And I think he's terrible. But I feel bad for the kid the Jets drafted from Penn State. Now, I told you he was terrible coming out of college.
Christian Sackenberg.
I told you he was terrible. Yeah. But look at how many times he actually played before they gave up on him.
Yeah, but some guys you just know can't play.
All right. That's the argument that you're going to make.
And the Hall of Famers that you're talking about, the coaches obviously knew they were going to get
something.
better.
Yeah, they saw something. They had faith.
But that was also,
gotta have
and that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was a lifetime ago.
I'm picking guys that turned into studs.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think he should get the rest of the year.
I think that this notion that you're going to give a kid 9 starts and you're going to determine whether or not he's your guy.
Hard thing is you give him the rest of the season.
Regardless of how he plays.
You don't even entertain drafting another quarterback, even though you're going to pick in the top 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
You give him the next entire season.
And then
if you're starting to get into realistic territory.
If you don't see market improvement by the end of next season, then you start thinking about alternatives.
Okay.
But the punt on him after half a year,
after 9 starts potentially,
horrendous, historically bad Redskins team.
Correct. With no weapons.
Would be one of the dumbest moves this franchise has ever made. And they've made a lot of dumb moves over the years.
Well, they're not going to do that because Bruce and Dan liked drafting Haskins.
I agree, but
because they want and not Callahan.
But there's an undercurrent of people out there that want to make an evaluation on him and consider young quarterbacks. I'm saying, in my opinion, that's insane. Off the table. Need to be discussed. You drafted him,
but after 25
now you
starts,
gotta live with it.
Starts decision.
That's a different story.
So for the 2020 draft, the Redskins should be considering either Chase Young, dealing back and gaining more picks because we know they need help up and down the roster. You trade back into the 8-10 range, get some extra picks, and pick, I don't know, the top offensive lineman or like a Jerry Jeudy. They pair up another weapon on offense to help Haskins along. But you don't entertain drafting Tua or one of the other quarterbacks coming out.
I don't think they will.
Or Joe Burrow from LSU.
I think they're going to do exactly what you said. I think they're going to give him the rest of this year. They're going to give him next year.
Right.
And then in year 3, they may make a move if he's not showing improvement, like you said.
Right.
All right. Let's bang out some of these calls. Let's see if people agree or if they want a 9-game referendum on this kid. I actually feel bad for him. He's got no weapons. He's on his second coach. Barely played in college.
He's on a second coach that is averse to throwing the ball.
Neither one of them won him.
No weapons. You have to emphasize that.
No weapons.
Emphasize that.
Yeah.
He's got nothing. He's got a couple nice pieces.
They've got more money. It's documented on the injured list than any other team in football.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, thankfully, they hit on Terry McLaurin. Could you imagine this offense without Terry McLaurin's contributions?
They probably have no touchdowns for the whole year.
By the way, because they're so far behind the rest of the league in some of those other positions, that's even worse for Haskins going forward. It's not like he's got a bunch of great players coming back, a solid foundation coming back next year. Because they're not going to make the good offseason moves. They just won't. So I think that's even worse for Haskins for next year, depending on how many games he starts.
Right.
All right, 800-636-1067. Want to hear from you. Are you in the crowd that's going to make this a 9-game referendum on Haskins here, or are you willing to give him next season, regardless of what he does here? Let's go to Ray. I'm willing to give the kid next year, regardless of what happens. Raymond, what's up?
Hey, just to flashback a little bit and then get right to the point. When they drafted Kirk Cousins, along with RG3, I knew it was going to be a debacle because you're putting doubt in the starter's mind, RG3, that somebody's looking for his job right behind him. You got to
There's
draft
something
a
to be
guy
said
to
for
be a
that.
quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You got to draft a guy to be a quarterback and let him develop into your quarterback because the team is depending on him. That'll be his motivation to get better and better instead of having to worry about is he going to lose his job. He needs to worry about how he's going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Same thing
Well,
happened.
get to the
Same
Super
thing
Bowl.
happened to Heath Schuler when they drafted
By
Gus
the way,
Frerotte in the
that
seventh
is
round.
true. What you're saying is true, but for Redskins fans, thank God they did draft Cousins in that same, because it wasn't the lack of confidence that hurt RG3, it was the injury.
Yeah, but he rushed back. He rushed back because he knew Cousins was a leader too. Cousins was clearly a leader. And if I know Cousins is on the bench and I got an injury, I'm gonna rush back and hurt my career.
Well, I think he knew.
Exactly
I
what
think
happened.
he knew Kirk was a better passer than he was.
Yeah, he was the better quarterback.
I think he knew that.
Yeah.
That Robert had different skill set. Is more elusive, right, in this Lamar Jackson mold. And I still think to this day, if Robert didn't get hurt, now the problem was he was bound to get hurt because he didn't know how to protect himself. But if Robert didn't get hurt, I think he could be still doing the things that Lamar's doing. But, because clearly you could still do that and be successful in 2019. But, injury and hubris and everything else got in the way. And, Robert is where he is right now.